Dan Dickau here for Gonzaga Nation SI. This being a Thursday, March 3rd, means one thing. It's Bracketology updates each week. Beginning in March, we begin to break down a couple different bracketologists, Joe Lenardi and Jerry Palm's predictions for who will be in the NCAA tournament, with obviously a WCC focus and slant, but tie in a little bit of Mountain West and Pac-12 because it is very pertinent to how the West Coast Conference, I think, is looked at by the selection committee. So let's just get right into it. My picks right as of now, and I've said this all year long, I feel that this is a four-bid league. I wanted it to be a four-bid league. I think the WCC has become a better league. And I think a lot of that is spurred by Gonzaga becoming so dominant nationally. But I think sometimes with that dominance, both nationally and in the league for Gonzaga, I think you're seeing a lot of skeptics asking just how good is this league. But when I look at it, I do think this league, top to probably about 7, is very good. I think 8, 9, and 10 have some work to do, but I think those teams have pieces. I think a lot of things with that 8, 9, and 10 this year had some issues with injuries, had some issues with roster mismatching where things just didn't fit right. And Pepperdine in particular has got tremendous young talent, but their grad transfers did not work, and they ended up being off the team early on in the season. So that being said, I've wanted 4 teams. I felt 4 teams were going to get into it throughout most of the season. I now feel that there are 3 teams that are almost locks for the NCAA tournament. 2 are locks for sure, that being Gonzaga, St. Mary's. I think USF, in my estimation, is a lock for the NCAA tournament. BYU is still on the bubble. In what I see. Do I hope they get in? Yes, I do. But it's going to take some work on their end to be able to have their name called on Selection Sunday. So let's just start with Joe Lenardi right now. As of about 24 hours ago, he had 3 teams in the WCC in. Gonzaga was his number 1 overall seed. They were planning, in his estimation, to be in Portland in the West region, playing the winner of an 8-9 game, and that would be Colorado State and Xavier. St. Mary's he has as a 6 seed. He has them playing the winner of Memphis and Indiana, who is in an 11 seed play-in game. So that would be interesting to keep an eye on. Indiana, obviously from the Big Ten. Memphis, a tremendous amount of talent, just haven't been able to be consistent and put it all together this year. So that would be an interesting matchup for sure. Joe Lenardi also has USF in as a 10 seed playing Marquette out of the Big East, and that would be one of the last 4 byes. Joe Lenardi has BYU out at this moment in time. The last one bracketology that I saw from him coming in through a newsletter before I began to record this podcast episode is they were the 3rd team out. So they weren't the last team to be left out. They were the 3rd team. So lots of movement, lots of shakeups bound to happen for BYU to get into the tournament. You got to look at, are there any upsets in one-bid leagues? Are there any true falters in the power conference leagues where maybe a team was absolutely locked in and dialed in to advance probably to the semifinals or the finals of the conference tournament? They lose early, allowing a power conference team to make a deep run, and then they would in turn jump up the bubble to maybe sneak their way in. So Lenardi has, like I said, those 3 WCC teams in. He also has 4 Mountain West teams, being Boise State, Wyoming, San Diego State, and Colorado State. And in the Pac-12, he's only got 3, Arizona, UCLA, and USC. So we'll move on to Jerry Palm. Again, I've typically each week talked about Jerry Palm of CBS Sports and Joe Lunardi of ESPN in their bracketology predictions, because I think there are lots of them out there now, but it's important to kind of have a consistent basis of the two, and those have been well respected for a number of years. But Jerry Palm, as of last night, when games finished, has 4 WCC teams in. He includes BYU at this moment in time. He has 4 Mountain West teams, the ones that I had just mentioned, and he has 3 Pac-12 teams. So the only difference is he has BYU in, where Joe Lunardi has BYU out at this moment in time. But his bracket has Gonzaga as the number one overall seed playing Norfolk State in Portland in the West region, and he has an interesting possible second round matchup, and that is the 8-9 game of Boise State versus Notre Dame. Why is that so interesting? Because Boise State, Leon Rice was an assistant coach at Gonzaga for about 10 years. He's been the head coach at Boise State now for 12 years. 9 of those 12 years, 20 plus wins. They just won their first outright Mountain West Conference tournament, Mountain West Conference title. They're about to start the conference tournament in a few days. So that would be an interesting matchup, I'm sure, for Gonzaga fans, alumni, former players, lots of connections there. Jerry Palm has St. Mary's as a 5 seed. That is very high. I personally had, when I'm kind of looking at everything, Ken Palm net rankings, thinking about what St. Mary's may do in the conference tournament this week, I had them pegged at 6 or 7 at the highest if there was a good performance in the WCC tournament. If not, I was thinking they would definitely be no worse than a 9 seed. But Jerry Palm has St. Mary's as a 5 seed playing against North Texas, and that is would be an interesting one because North Texas is playing really good basketball. I think they've won 14 in a row. Jerry Palm also has San Francisco as a 10 seed in the West against Ohio, and again BYU sneaking in his predictions as an 11 seed against Iowa State. For Ken Palm, which is definitely looked at by the selection committee, they look at Ken Palm, they look at net, they look at strength of schedule, Sagarin, and they do the eye test, obviously. But Gonzaga is number 1 in Ken Palm. They're followed by Baylor, number 2, and there's a pretty good gap there. And when you look at some of the adjusted metrics offensively and defensively, Gonzaga is the only team in the top 10 efficiency of both offense and defense. So that's a great sign for Gonzaga that they've kind of distanced themselves this year. When you look at the Ken Palm as well, St. Mary's is at 18, USF is at 23, and BYU is at 47. There have been plenty of teams at 47 in the Ken Palm that have gotten in. So that provides another glimmer of hope for BYU. And when you look at the net, Gonzaga number 1 in the net, St. Mary's at 19, USF 27, BYU not quite as good at 52 in the net, and Santa Clara is at 72, which is important because, again, quad 1 wins. If you were to go on the road and win at the Levy Center against Santa Clara, that would, at the end of the year, be considered a quad 1 win. So that would be very good and beneficial in the eyes of the selection committee. So there you have it. We are in March. The madness is here, even though it's been here, it feels like for a couple weeks now. But the conference tournament kicks off tonight, Thursday, March 3rd. I will have a separate preview of those 2 games coming up shortly on Gonzaga Nation SI. Take care. March Madness is here.